You see yesterday, quite a rally from the low there at 22.50, up over $1, and then it continued crossing over the $24 mark.
The land of Arcadia.
Hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics. And I know we've been doing a lot of Silverfest videos over the last week or so, but with a rally in the gold and silver prices today, I wanted to come back and give a quick update. We'll have one Silverfest panel with Chris Powell of GATA coming a little later tonight, but wanted to go through some of the news and also mention that tonight's video is brought to you by Bluestone Resources, one of the sponsors that helps make this show possible. And you probably saw Bluestone with Jack Lundin was back on the show a few months ago talking about the Cerro Blanco gold project, fully permitted high-grade underground gold project in southeastern Guatemala. They actually had some drill results out about a few days ago, late last week, and Rob Keynes of Gold Silver Pros will be joining us in a little bit to go through that. So again, if you're not already familiar with Bluestone, there's their website at bluestoneresources.ca. We'll talk about them a little later tonight. Also, a link at the end to that interview with Jack if you'd like to take a look at what they are doing, especially with gold and silver prices off of the highs quite a bit. Silver made it up to $29 earlier this summer. Gold over $2,000. And as you see here, gold right around quite a rally in both of the metals. Gold was down to $1,850 yesterday and right under that $1,900 mark. And silver rallying for the second day in a row. Here you see the open on Sunday night below $23. Then traded a little lower. I don't know, maybe got spoofed there. Who knows? Fascinating to me, and we will dig into JPMorgan and spoofing before the video is done. Sure looks to me like the spoofing, I don't know what we'd call that one. We'll leave that aside, but seems like the spoofing has continued even as these banks are paying fines. I doubt JPMorgan is the only one. In fact, we know they're not the only one. Deutsche Bank caught. Traders from a bunch of other banks have been caught. And we'll get into that a little bit more. But you see yesterday, quite a rally from the low there at 22.50, up over $1. And then it continued. It's kind of flat on the day when I woke up this morning. Okay, I wasn't up that early. But then just chugged higher, crossing over the $24 mark. Let's call it $24.30 right now on the Kitco chart. And basically in the last couple months, we've seen silver go from 18 to 29 to 24 to 27 or 28, then down to 22, back up to 24. Seeing the volatility increase a bit. And wow, sorry for being distracted there. I don't know if I can share this yet, but actually something rather stunning happened today, and just saw an email pop in. I'm going to leave the name private for today. Sorry for being a tease, but hopefully someone that I've been trying to track down for quite a while, and I think someone that, if she is willing to join us on the show, or at least let me make a comment on the message she sent, I think you guys will be happy. Sorry I'm being a little bit of a tease there, but want to respect some privacy, although some nice news there. And again, you know, you see this increasing volatility in the silver market. I mean, yes, there's been changes in the fundamentals of silver where you had massive surge in demand, mines going offline. Although once again, shockingly enough, the silver price, not reacting to those. I mean, here it's going nuts months after this has happened. I would suggest that this fits in the premise of what was laid out in the big silver short, and that it's the result of having so much leverage, having so much paper in these markets that, you know, I would suggest that markets don't normally move like this without those factors. So, and also one other thought that I'd like to pass along here today. I've been thinking a lot about conditional probabilities lately. Some Bayes' theorem, exciting stuff, maybe a little dorky, yet it's basically a concept that was quite valuable in options trading. And I guess how it would apply here is that now, again, you may have different underlying assumptions of the market, but I'll speak for myself here where I'm looking at what the Fed is doing, debt loads, money printing burdens, and then I have my view of what is controlling the pricing in the market. So, put another way, if you think that the long term is set and the Fed's going to keep printing and eventually force the metals significantly higher, if you take that as the given, which again, you may or may not, I do, um, in the conditional probability sense, well, if I still believe that and nothing has changed that part, then the fact that silver is $24 on some ways better than $29 if you want to buy it. I know a lot of people have been calling for a pullback. Well, we certainly got a couple of those. So far has not gone below $20. I wouldn't rule that out. I don't expect it, but even despite all the different people that come on here and that I talked to or that were in the big silver short book, I would not claim to know what's going to happen in the short term. Yet to find anyone who really does, but I think the long term, Jerome Powell is making easy enough. And here, something people have waited a long time for. CFTC orders JPMorgan to pay a record $920 million fine for spoofing and manipulation. Um, spoof orders in precious metals. And don't forget, they were rigging the treasury market too. Yeah, let's get full coverage on rigging of every market. I wonder, maybe that would be a fun game to play along at home. We could see if there's any market that JP Morgan has not manipulated or been fined for. Here we go, $920 million. I guess the next step, I have not heard anything conclusive yet. I've been asking around, but hopefully this opens the door for some class action lawsuits. I mean, this $1 billion. Let's see. I can't imagine they would mention in here where that money actually goes to. I did have someone look up before, and I think it goes back to the Treasury rather than the people that have been the victims of this. Again, I would personally not say that spoofing is what I think is the biggest thing to be looking out for in the precious metals markets. But in either case, how about the money actually goes back to the people who were cheated rather than to Congress or whatever else, God knows what this money will be wasted on politically. And interesting, here's the story. You've probably seen this one, reposted on a bunch of different sites. Nice look inside the JP Morgan crime ring. And just, I thought this was interesting. I won't go through the whole thing. I'm guessing you probably read it, or if you want, you can read it. You get the gist yet. Here's Michael Nowak. His trading desk at JP Morgan was trading tens of trillions of dollars of transactions annually. It's a little stunning. And he had a young family, a house outside Manhattan, and a 7-bedroom vacation home a few blocks away from the beach in New Jersey. Also, an official on the London Bullion Market Association. So hard to imagine he's the only one. And maybe the part that just, I try not to whine too much about this stuff, but gee, I'll bet there's a lot of people, probably you may be one of them watching, that might like to have a nice house outside of Manhattan and a 7-bedroom vacation home a few blocks away from the beach, but these guys stole your money. stolen my money in some in many cases as well, and at least that's my belief. Again, maybe hopefully we'll get some clarity on some of the different specific instances. I'd like to know about the night in 2011 when gold dropped from $1,900 in the middle of the night after the Swiss decided to peg to the euro, or when silver got hammered. So hopefully we'll get some details, because I think a lot of these things, and I mean, I'm not trying to sensationalize it, but it's like putting in perspective that, yeah, these vacations and mansions everywhere, it comes from somewhere. And I guess it's just sometimes a little bit tough to watch these things go on. And then even when there is some sort of settlement, and I mean, who knows, they're paying $1 billion. Is the Fed giving them some bailout on some crappy mortgage bonds that they're marking up? And again, just hope there will be some sort of justice for people that have been affected. I'm going to keep looking around, see what I can find. Hopefully, actually do know a bunch of lawyers, and I've been trying to find one of them who can at least direct me to someone that would be the right kind of person to look into that, and have someone who's kind of helping out on that now. So we'll see. Hopefully we'll get some justice and a nice big check, or not even a check. They'll just send us some silver. I want that crappy fiat. So yeah, I don't want to say that linguistically to my subconscious. I'll take the crappy fiat, then convert it into silver or mining shares. And by the way, a quick note here. I think this is appropriate to mention. Obviously, I talk a lot about silver. We do buy or sell silver through Miles Franklin, and I bring mining companies on, some of whom are sponsors. So, I just always want to be upfront. Although with that said, my portfolio these days, well, consisted of some debt from taking 8 years to figure out how to start a business, which we'll leave aside for now. But as we finally turn the corner, well, I do have a couple cryptos from a few years ago. I don't know if they're worth all that much these days. But other than that, basically, I buy silver or the silver companies. I'm going to write a note. I did like what Bluestone had to say when Jack came on. I think I already have some shares of them, but I have a new deposit going into my account, and I would like to buy some more Bluestone. I'm not saying that to persuade or encourage, just that I guess my point here, I'm not just saying this stuff, and I'm not telling anybody what to do, because everyone's situation is different, but just to the degree that I'm not just saying this and then going and buying JPMorgan stock. And really, as the rally continues, if that is indeed the case, which I expect, I mean, even $30 or $40 silver, unless something changes with the Fed, I'm not sure I've identified a change in my plan. So we'll get back to the news stories here. But I just thought that was worth pointing out, that at least with my money, and I'm not, again, I haven't learned my diversification lesson either. And I say that just to point out that I do genuinely believe in what I am seeing, saying, and doing. So with that said, here's a story from last week. Free money for banks. Yeah, we knew, Reuters. We've been watching. As investors pile into the fractured gold market, the great Stuart Englert, author of the book Rigged, he sent this one over, and I thought it was kind of odd. Stuart, unfortunately, I don't really have an answer for you yet, but this here, banks are making huge profits from gold as investors flood into a market fractured by the corona crisis, which I thought was odd, because from Reuters, the same publication, same author, back in May, he says bullion banks prepare CME pullback after virus snarl. So 1.2 billion was the earnings pool last year. This year, we already crossed that number. And they do mention that juicy rewards. Let's see. Okay, stung by the losses, many banks. So they do mention, he does mention, lowered their trading limits and creating a lack of liquidity that pushed prices above London, the main trading hub. But basically, reduced trading, also create an opportunity to sell it forward. Basically, somewhere in here, they're saying that even though the banks pulled back, oh yeah, even banks that reduced activity on the COMEX are making more money there than before, none of whom was authorized to speak to the media. So there's on the COT report, massive short position for the 4 and 8 largest traders in both gold and silver. So someone was short, assuming it's a bank. Someone was getting clobbered on the way up. Maybe that's been reduced a little bit on the way back down over the last week or two. You know, this is just me, but I take any of these Reuters, Wall Street Journal, it looks like guy I used to trade with on the floor. New York Times. I take them all with a grain of salt. I don't know. I mean, maybe they're just the guy's opinion, but I don't know. In my experience, and I can't say in particular about this specific article, but I don't know. In just my experience, I've found it's good to take some of these mainstream reports with a grain of salt. And that's what I'll do on that one. Although here we do have a note back to the mining stocks. Quick note on First Majestic. Here's a tweet from Jeff Clark regarding the First Majestic news with their tax issue. This was from, let's see, September 25th, a couple days ago. News today that the Mexican government nullified the prior agreement and ordered tax authority to re-examine the basis for it. Not the best news, but management says they're not surprised because Mexican government has been pushing this for 4 years. What it was a surprise was how they did it. It was done without inviting company to the hearing, which is illegal. Management is weighing options. Sounds like it is not going to be resolved anytime soon. Although just one thought I've had on that, here, one of the things is that while that case is ongoing, Jeff talked about this in his great presentation at Silverfest. What's the price of First Majestic when silver breaks through 50? Talked about the Mexican government issue as well, and pointed out that it's actually a very small percentage of their overall market cap. Additionally, I wouldn't claim to know how this will get resolved, but you know, the government can take 100% of zero. So I'm guessing it's going to be some sort of negotiation. And the fact that that's preventing, my understanding is many funds have a mandate that when you have a case like this, they can't buy it. Well, that's the kind of factor I love hearing and makes me want to buy something. Well, if there's some reason that funds are just prevented from buying or selling, that usually pushes things out of line. And I mean, there's some expected cost. I mean, you can do probability weighted. I don't know what the answer would be, but anyway, there you go, the update on that. And speaking of mining stock updates, now Rob Kientz of goldsilverpros.com is going to join us and give a quick walkthrough of Bluestone's recent drill results.
Hey, Chris, glad to be on. Yeah, we had the Bluestone results here from the recent drilling, the infield drill assays that they included here in this report. They've got some pretty good results, which is good to see for this group. They have 15 grams a ton AU and 55 grams a ton AG over 7.2 meters, which is nice and healthy. This one here is probably one of the best, 210 grams AU and 167 grams per ton AG over a meter. Pretty good drill results for the company. They continue to find good resource. It's good news. Since the last time you and I talked about them, good news for investors, should help out the stock price. When you have news like this consistently coming out about a company, it generally does well for the shareholders.
Well, thank you, Rob. I appreciate that. And Yeah, certainly good time to be looking at gold stocks, given now the Bank of England is defending a plan for negative interest rates. Um, Bank of England policymaker has defended the potential use of negative interest rates, which could take the cost of borrowing below zero. Silvana Tenreiro told the Telegraph that evidence from other countries was encouraging. Oh, dear goodness. And look at the ones he cites. The evidence from European and Japan that negative interest rates had succeeded in cutting firms' borrowing costs. Well, I mean, I guess that's technically true, although at what cost? The all of the paper currencies. So again, this is why I'm not saying this is how other people should invest, but when you have this going on, to me it doesn't matter whether silver is $24 or $26 or whether gold is 2000 or 1800 or 2400. I mean, we're this late in the game. They're not talking about, oh geez, it's like 12 years we've had 0%. They're now going negative. And I know this is, you don't hear this many other places. Why you come to Arcadia? But I'll say one that will sound far out there, yet I don't really think it is. But I mean, it sure looks like these guys are just going to keep going until they blow these currencies out. If they haven't reversed course or changed what they were saying or doing by now, I mean, you look at where we're at this late in the game, and now it's just talking about when do we go negative. Fed here is, at least the Bank of England is, somewhat more honest about it, whereas the Federal Reserve is changing inflation targets and all sorts of other nonsense. That was discussed in the big silver short. I tried to lay it out before it all happens. If you have not received your copy yet or purchased a copy yet, you can do so at arcadiaeconomics.com. Get the audio or the paperback on Amazon. And so far, people seem to be liking it. Wow, we're up to 65 ratings. And, we've got a couple non-fans, maybe. Yes, Greg Nowak. Maybe he read it and didn't like it, but a lot of 5-star reviews, and I think people have been generally liking it. So if you want to pick up a copy and find out how so much of this came to be, and even years before the Department of Justice got this fine, or I guess it's the CFTC's dishing out the fine, there you go. And the link is always in the description field below. And finally, before wrapping up, I sure appreciate you being here tonight. And again, I did mention tonight's video sponsored by Bluestone Resources. And to find out more about them, their profile, what they're doing, management team. Again, fortunately, Jacqueline Dean did record an interview about Bluestone. And that is coming your way now.